In, you're planning to go through and you're exiting there. Now, as you're coming in, you're gathering your views and you're looking around to see what could be coming in, what could be coming around that impede your flow on. Okay, bike comes in, he's banked over, his head's over there. Which way is he going to go? Left, right, straight on?
You're anticipating a left and up the dual carriage.
Possibly anticipating he's going to get that way. At which point you think, well, he's coming on, he's not going very fast, I'll go straight on. All of a sudden, he does that on you. Now, for the line he's on, he's going to go right around there.
So he should be going straight on.
So the question is, at the point where you realise, because you've slowed right down to 30, because you're thinking, at that point you think, oh, bike, no, he's going round, he's going left. No, he's not, he's coming round. At that point, do you stop or nail it?
Good. I'll nail it.
That's it. At that point, because he's coming right around the outside, he's now not going to be going as quickly as you think as he first looked. And you've only got to get that back corner to there.
He's going behind you.
And he's going to go behind you. Yeah?
If you stop, he's got to then try and crank it over the other way.
Yes, because if you now try and stop at 30 mile an hour, you might end up stopping there.
And he's got to then
and then he's going to run straight into the side of you. On the other hand, if a bike comes in and he's on that line, when you come down doing the same scenario, which way is he going to go? Left, right, straight on?
Straight on, all right.
Possibly.
You know he's not going left.
You know he's not going
coming
left.
into your path.
So he's either going to go straight through there and out there, or he could come right round there and back out the same way as you're going to go. Now the question is, do you stop or do you try and gun it?
Well, that's a stop.
That's going to be a stop, more than likely, because you've now got to get the back corner from here all the way to there for him to go behind you, and if he's coming the same way as you are, you've got to boot it even faster to try and get out of his way. So that line through is more intimidating and more positive of the fact that I'm going straight through. So anybody coming approaching from the junction from this way is more than likely to stop. Now the reason why we do this is because most associates, when they're out, they come in and they do that line around the roundabout, and they've all got stories to tell of cars pulling out on them. So the reason why cars pull out of them is because their body language as they come round that corner suggests that they're going up there. And when they don't, and they do what the video did, and they go right round there, the cars then have got a decision of, do I stop or do I go? And if they go, they've got to go fast. And you've also got all the debris and all the muck and all the gravel that's in this outside, and any diesel slops get around this outside. So if it's in the wet and you're banking in, up, banked in all the way around and then banked out and back out again, you've got more chance of losing control. Where if you come in and you're upright, you do your quick shoulder check into there to make sure there's nothing coming through, and then you exit out on a nice clean line. A46 roundabout, Bingham's that direction, Nottingham and Gunthorpe Bridge is that direction. Again, we can talk about junctions and planning and anticipation. That road actually goes, coming off the roundabout, it's big, long, 2 lanes going towards Bingham and the level crossing. So you can talk, if this car's coming up the inside and you're going to go that exit, which lane would you travel in? You can come up in lane 2. We can talk about looking up as you're getting nearer and nearer the roundabout, speed's coming down, gears coming down. Getting near the roundabout, you're looking to that direction from any vehicles coming around towards you. And you've got to decide what you're going to do, where you're going to stop, when you're going to go. You can then straight line on through and exit back out. So you're going to show a right indicator as you get to that point, and you're going to quick shoulder check into there, make sure it's safe before you exit.
Left indicator. Yeah, so say left indicator.
I'm just checking. Quite often you get cars coming up in the outside lane, and then you're coming through on your inside lane. Again, you're looking over the top. They generally come to a stop before they go. So as they're coming in, I'm watching their speed. If their speed's coming down to 20 and it's down to 10, you think, oh, they're going for a stop. I'm looking over the roofs. I'm still doing 30 to 40-ish. As your ride's coming in, you can see there's no oncoming hazards. If they look like they're going to stop, I might still straight line on because I'm carrying more speed than they are. But if they're maintaining a similar speed to me and they're then coming on as well, then you'd match them and you'd end up running all the way around as they are. But what you've got to be careful of is that they don't come across your nose and take you out in that area. So you may hold back slightly to let them come through, indicator on and go off, or they might be going right round. So it's just, our idea is to be able to talk through the dry wipes. We've said it before, there's no real hard and fast way of doing it. All we're trying to do is, whatever they've done on the day, is modify and change one of these to suit your scenario. Another scenario then. Long bend, junction. Car sat at the junction, wait turn right, you're riding in that direction. You're in out of the national speed limit, countryside, and you're approaching doing about 60 miles an hour. Where should you position for a right hand bend?
In the gutter.
Up towards the left. Okay. Now, you're watching the car ahead of you. What else do you do? Based on information, position, speed, gear, acceleration.
I'd be slowing down.
Okay, so you're doing a 60, you might be down to 50, a bit slower.
Possibly. Depends how tight the bend is.
Well, that's as you can see it.
Right, yeah, so down to 40. Yeah.
Still
I'd
stopping
start, no, and I, with the car there, I'd start from where you are, I'd start to be pulling towards that sort of line.
Right, because?
Just in case the car decides he wants to move.
Okay,
I'd also be still slowing down until I'd got past him.
so we're down to about 30.
Make sure, yep, and out to the centre to get past him as long as nothing's coming up the other way.
Right. And
Past him
accelerate
there and accelerate out past him.
Right. Okay. So, sitting in the other seat, and then that you're then now the car driver, watching a bike come in fairly quickly, and start to slow, and move over to the left, and start to slow, and move over to the left, and he's down to 30 mile an hour, and you think,
Is he turning left?
he's turning left. So you boot it. Because even if he's not, you've only got to get your back corner to about there, and he can go around the back of you.
Yeah.
One of our observers did just that. Car pulled out on him. Car then realised he wasn't going left and stopped. And he stopped there. And this guy got absolutely nowhere to go, so he clipped the back end of it and ended in the ditch, wrote his bike off. It's down to body language again. You slowed down, but your suggestion, I'm not saying you're wrong, because that's what everybody does, your suggestion by moving to the left and slowing down and moving round and slowing down, showing caution, thinking, if he just started to go, I need to be ready for it, then suggests to the car waiting in the junction, is he going left?
Yeah.
And he's slowing down quite a lot, and I reckon if I can really go quick, because I'm in an Impreza, I can get out of here. So you've got to be careful that what you do on the road then doesn't create yourself into more danger. Because sometimes you'd be more dangerous. So I'd probably come in and I'd probably get to about, like you say, to about there, but if I can see through the corner it's clear, I'd probably turn in earlier.
Yeah.
Probably.
Yeah.
But that depends what's coming there. But if there's something coming there, there's less chance of him to pull out because he couldn't conflict with that.
Further.
You've got to look at his head movement as he's, as he's physically seen you. You know, if he's seen you, then you can maintain your speed.
Yeah.
You pull out as soon as you can see that it's safe to get out there.
Yeah. But everybody's trying to read body language. All the
Yeah.
time, people are reading body language. And they're trying to guess what you're going to do next.
Yeah.
Yeah? When we're doing this and we're sat in Mackey's or wherever I'm sat, I tend to look around the room and go, she's waiting for us to come back from the toilets, he's waiting for food, they're waiting to go home, he's sat for this. Yeah, and you can sit and look around the room and scan the room and guess what people are doing and why. And everybody's doing exactly the same to you when you're out on the road, and you're doing exactly the same to everybody else when you're out on the road, so that you can have a safe ride. So you've just got to be careful that whatever you do on the road doesn't suggest to somebody that you're doing something else. So, junctions. You're driving down the road, you come up to a junction, there's a bike sat at the junction. He's not indicating left or right because he was only right there when he pulled up. Is he going left, right, straight on?
And that position, either right or straight on.
He's probably going there or he's probably going there. He's sat in the middle.
Hopefully straight on.
Hopefully, possibly straight on. And if he's over to the left,
hopefully turning
Well,
left.
he could go that way or he could go that way. But if he's in town and he's got lots of vehicles behind him and he's sat with his indicator on, because people generally turn left or right from the middle of their lane because they sit there, because they always say, well, if I sat one side or the other, a car can put me inside and it puts me into danger. Well, you can bite, you can generally see over most vehicles. But by sitting there, even if you've got an indicator on one way or the other, nobody knows other than the vehicle behind you. And if you're in town, there's room to get bikes up or scooters up your inside. If you've got traffic lights and they go green, and you turn left, and they think, well, I can beat him to 20 miles an hour, and they nail it straight through there, you end up in a big heap here, because you need to shoulder check that area. But to eliminate that, if you sit with your tyres and your foot in the gutter, and you sit there for a left turn, then anybody coming up behind you
Has to stop.
has to stop. And you can also indicate, so as you've driven down that road and you're in your normal position that you're in for the hazards, and you're turning left and your indicator comes on and your body language does that. So you've indicated left, you've moved left, you position left, and you come to a nice stop and you've sat nice and neatly by the curb, watching what's going off, and then using clutch, back brake and throttle, take a nice tight turn around the corner rather than swinging out around there, as they tend to do. Everybody behind you knows what you're doing because they're reading your body language. So cars might come in and they might sit behind you, but any scooters coming down the inside or push bikes are going to have to sit behind you and wait for you to turn. And you've eliminated big danger up your inside. Likewise, if it's a really tight turn, bottom of Calverton, on George's Hill, it's not a 90 degree, it's more of a turn, that sort of direction. So you could ride tight down the left hand side, but then it's a really tight turn. But if you position out and as you come in you then end up with your bike pointing in that direction, it's obvious again that you're going left because of your position, but then when you pull off you've got an easier turn to get out because it's actually it comes back on itself. You can have, if you've got chevrons and you've got a bigger road and then you've got the chevron lines, or you might have just it might be the broken white line coming up. If I'm going left, what I'll do is I'll approach and I'm looking that direction and I'm coming in and I'm still looking that direction, but then I'll turn and I'll sit myself to there, so I'm then using my mirrors to see all of that. And before I accelerate away, I can shoulder check into my blind spot area and accelerate there rather than coming in at that. Because if you're coming into a 60 mile an hour road, you've got to now do a 90 degree turn and get up to speed quick, trying to blend in with traffic. Well, if you're there, you can accelerate away faster. So you've positioned in a better safe
Turning
position.
onto the 617 coming out of Calverton, isn't it? Or by Old Town Football
I'm
Club.
thinking of somewhere. Yes, but that's actually got solid white line around there, around the chevron, so you shouldn't enter it.
Yeah.
But I do, because
Everybody.
cars coming that direction are doing 60 plus, and they don't want to stop. So you've only got a very short vision of them because there's a slight bend in the road with the hedge.
By the,
So you need to be pointing the right direction and then accelerating really quickly to match the speed of the traffic. But those two are self-explanatory. All we're trying to do is get people observation, anticipation. If you're riding along, up in the distance you see a load of street lights sticking up, it's probably going to be a junction or a village. If you're out in the countryside and there's suddenly light for no reason at all, it's probably because it's highlighting a junction. So again, you're sort of backing off. Right, Humpback Bridge and Cress. As you're approaching, the golden rule, you should always be able to stop in the distance you can see on your side of the road to be safe, yeah? So, as you're approaching the crest, it might not be a Humpback Bridge, it might be just a good crest. But you can only see to that point. So you need to be at a speed that you can stop by that point. So, as you're travelling and you may be doing 60, you may find that at that speed you're down to 50, maybe down to 40, maybe down to 30. Because you've got to be able to stop by that point because your line of sight's still up here. Okay. Worst case scenario is you've got a cyclist or some pedestrians on the left hand side. Any oncoming vehicles won't slow down to go over that Humpback Bridge, they will pass them. So they will be going over the Humpback Bridge in the middle of the road. So your safest position is over to the left hand side at a speed that you can stop them as you can see. Now as your head rises, as you move forward, your line of sight improves all the time. And as your line of sight improves all the time, your speed can then come back up to 40, 50, 60 and away. If, however, there's a vehicle stopped on your side of the road, because everybody's excuse is, well, the reason why I go over the middle of the road is because there's a parked vehicle the other side of there, I don't want to hit it. Well, if you're using the 5-point system and you're using your information, your position, your speed, and you're at a speed that you can stop and distance you can see, if that's the parked vehicle that far away, you can see that vehicle from that distance. So when you're back there on the road, you can now see that vehicle, gather more information and decide whether you can safely now move your position out towards the white line to go around it. Or if there's oncoming hazards, and you probably can't, you're at a speed that you can still stop at that point by now. Yeah, because you've slowed down anyway to be able to plan to stop to there. And then if necessary you can just do your 30, 20, 10 and stop. Wait for the vehicle to go and then go around it. Yeah. Next one. Take from Roadcraft. Obviously there should be a centre white line dotted up the middle of these. And the idea is to say where your blind spots are. So if you're going around a left-hand bend, yes, you can move out towards the white line to get your view, but you've got a big obstruction. So what you need to be trying to do is look up in that area as you're approaching the bend. Look up the inside. Too many people sit and look up and they're looking at that area. And as the vehicle goes around the corner, so a little bit further, they're still on the outside looking round, and then they're still on the outside looking round, and eventually they go. Where you could, as long as you're sitting a safe distance back, you can see up the inside, and as that vehicle then, let's just draw a, that's not going to be good, is it? As the vehicle then moves around the white line, your line of sight then improves, and you can now see further down the road. And as you get a little bit further down the road, you can see further down the road. And the idea is then, once you've confirmed that it's safe, as that lorry's turned, which is now there, you can then move out, move out to the outside, confirm it's safe, move out and accelerate away. Same scenario for right-hand bends. Again, you're following your vehicle. Now, one thing you must be aware of when you're following vehicles is that you don't get yourself drawn into that position trying to look up get the early view. As your position moves over to the left, what you should be doing is moving back away from him. You don't want to get yourself into that area of danger. So you need to be holding a safe distance back, because if for some reason something in this area that you can't see affects that driver and he hits the brakes, you've got nowhere to go if you're up his inside, right in his back corner. So as you move to the left, you shouldn't drop back into an area of safety. Gives you a safe view up past the front. As it goes further around the corner, you can now see all of that area. And once you know that it's safe, and then chances are there's a solid white line. At the end, once you can see the end of your solid white line, 9 times out of 10, if you went and stood on the end of a solid white line, you've got a clear view down the next straight. So I normally sit 2 seconds back off something if I'm into a solid white line area, and as you're looking ahead, and you'll see your white line starting to finish, your thoughts are then, when I get to there, if it's clear, I've gone. So you then move into a better position, you're looking to there, you get your view down, and the second you've cleared then the end of that solid white line, you can take out your position and go. That's self-explanatory really, not much more to say. Okay, forward planning observation. Try to draw this as though you're riding down a road and that's the line view you would see in a sort of three-dimensional type of shape. You've got your road signs by the side of the road, so you know what's coming up. You can see where the road's going into, you can see where it's rising up through the trees to the left, right. And the question you should be asking yourself is, what can I see, what can't I see, what can I expect to happen? Okay, I've drawn a plan view of that same sort of bend, so you can get a sort of an overview of what you'll be looking at. Now, based on what you can see on the road signs, what you should be trying to do is take a line that flows and sets you up over to the left, so as you approach over towards the white line, assuming there's no oncoming hazards that you can see, you can be looking through the bend, and you want to be setting yourself up over to the left hand side by the curb to try and get a view around this corner. Now, an ideal line through the junction or bend would be to come over to the right hand side so that you can gather your information as your view comes through, your line of sight improves to the point that you can then see down the road. As you then can see that there are no hazards on the offside, and you know that the road is going to go right and then left and rise up the hill, you want to be taking a nice line in towards the white line, and then as your view improves as you come through and your line of sight gets better, so you can now see everything is safe, you'll then peel in and straight line out through and away up the hill. So you might find that you're coming in, you're doing maybe 50, 60, you may be in 5th, roll off down 4th, down a 3rd, maybe down to 2nd, speed might be down as low as 20 miles an hour. As you come round the bend, everything's fine, you may find you can accelerate up to about 30, still staying in 2nd, rolling back off, speed will come back down to about 20, turn the corner, everything's fine, and accelerate away, up the 3rd, 4th, 5th, gone. Okay, so that works great if there's no hazards anywhere in view as you've approached. Things get slightly different if you can see other things on the road. As for instance, you can see a roof line of a car parked. You can't see whether it's on the left hand side or whether it's on the right hand side, you don't know. All you can see at this point is the roof line. So if we say that the vehicle's on the offside, as you've then come in and taken that same line and your speed's come down from 50 to 40 to 30, maybe down to 20, and your line of sight's now improved as you've come in, you're looking for this, you can see that it's there, you know it's there, it's not moving, it's stationary, so it's got to be parked, but you don't know whereabouts it is. As you come further around, you know it's not there, line of sight says it's still not there, it's got to be on the other side. As you now get to here, you can look in and you can see the parked vehicle. Okay, now before your line, the route you want to take was tight to the white line. Now the problem with that is there could be pedestrians or animals at the back of the vehicle that could then step out into your path. So what you may find you have to do is to reduce your position and your speed even further and maintain your 20 miles an hour and run through and take a tight line through the corner and then accelerate away. It may give the opportunity to give information out by sounding the horn, giving a slight toot on the horn just to say, hello, I'm here, have you seen me? People may be busy doing what they're doing, they may have broken down, maybe kids running around and screaming, whatever. You don't know if they've heard you approach and negotiating the bend. Okay. Now you may think that's then not a hazard to you because you know where you're going to be, you're going to come through and you're going to carry on your line nice and safely and keep away from the hazard. What you've got to be careful of is all the time you're doing this is you're not stopping scanning that area. You need to still be looking for any dangers approaching from ahead. If there's a vehicle, whether it be a car or a bike, coming down the hill towards you, what you're going to find that he does, his line of sight is going to be, there's a vehicle. There's a fair chance he won't anticipate you coming towards him, so he may just automatically take that side of the road and not get himself into here, nearly stop till it's clear and then come through. So what you need to be aware of is that as you're approaching, you may find vehicles coming towards you on your side of the road. When they're on your side of the corner, it's probably less likely for them to do that, but if they're actually on the corner, you may find them more likely to cut through it because their line of sight, even if they came into there, will be quite restricted. You may find they just come straight through without any consideration or thought for anybody coming towards them. So you need to be careful and anticipate things moving towards you. Okay, next option then, same scenario, same lines coming in. As we've approached and you're coming in for your view, your line of sight's just come in, you can now realise that vehicle's actually on your side of the road. Okay, information's changed, position, well ideally we don't want to be over here at all, we now need to be this side of the road. Speed, well it was already coming down to about 20 miles an hour, you may find that now you're here, that you have to come down to possibly 10 at that point before you then stop, decide whether it's safe to go out and stop and gently come out in that direction. I'm probably going to be as far to the right as I can on the narrow road. So if anybody then steps out from behind the vehicle or a door opens, I'm well enough away from it. And if they check into the mirrors, depending which way the vehicle's pointing, chance of it's on that side of the road, it's going to be pointing in the same direction as I'm heading. If he looks in the mirror, hopefully he'll spot me coming around the outside. But again, what you be careful of is if there is a vehicle coming down towards you, he may not anticipate vehicles coming towards him being on his side of the road, and he may come in there fairly hot, whether it be a car or a bike, and find you ahead of him. So I don't think my speed through there is going to be much more than sort of 20 miles an hour max, because if I do see somebody up here, I've got to stop in a very short distance. Okay, again, this is just a more detailed drawing of our usual map that we do, showing left and right hand bends. Rather than showing a whole route, what we've done, we've reduced it down to a smaller size, so that you can talk about positioning bends and where you should be gathering information, where blind spots are. As you've approached the bends, again, you can draw to people the two options, and you should be talking about warning triangles that may be showing a corner, maybe showing the bend. So they're gathering information, they should be positioned out, assuming there's nothing coming towards them, out towards the white line for a better view. If they come down the inside, like we've got on the drawing, then their line of sight is quite reduced. But what people tend to do is, even if they tend to approach out towards the white line, what they tend to do is take the old-fashioned racing line, which is to sweep through there. Unfortunately, that puts them banked over quite close to hedges and grass verges, and when they then appear out and you can see any hazards which may be in the road, what they tend to do is run out wide because of the speed and the angle and the line that they're on, and they end up heading towards the vehicles that are coming towards them. So what we should be trying to do is talk to them about as they've approached, and again, same information, road's going left, they're out towards the white line. As their approach speed reduces, they may be down to 50, maybe down to 40, so it might have gone 6th, down to 5th, down to 4th, holding position out, and they hold out and they can see further, which means that the vehicle that they couldn't see before it suddenly made them jump and spook them, they can now see earlier, and at that point they can choose then to take a safer line away from it and turn in, away from the hazard that's coming towards them. If that hazard isn't there, then obviously they're going to hold the line out longer until their line of sight does open up the view, and then they can turn in and accelerate away. Okay, we've got the same scenario for a right hand bend. Again, you can talk to the people about as they approach. In fact, you can even link two corners, and you can talk about how they come in, and if they would take a racing line and run out wide, that it actually puts them then in the wrong place for the right hand corner, because they then end up coming in on this line, or you get the old sweep where they go out at the last minute, which means they're heading in that direction when they should really be heading forwards, which means that they're looking at that area that they don't want to run into instead of looking at that area that they should be planning for hazards and dangers. They then tend to run down the white line and run out wide again because they've taken the racing line, particularly if they suddenly spot something when they get to that point and they see a vehicle coming in. They tend to stand the bike up quick to run away from it, which puts them out again towards the hedge, so they're looking at all this area of danger as opposed to looking down here where it's safe. So what we can talk about is if they were to take a safer line through there, we can link the two bends still together. We can talk to them about if they were out, as in the drawing above that showed them approaching at the white line. They can come down the white line until they get their view through and their line of sight shows them where the road's going, and they can see down the inside verge. They can then adopt a nice position down the left hand side, away from any hazards that could come and spook them, and once they then get to a position where they can see down both the left and the right hand verge, if there's a vehicle coming, they can hold the line around away from it safely. And if there isn't any vehicles coming and they see the line, they can always peel in earlier and get the power on earlier, and then start to accelerate, back up the gears away. Self-explanatory really.